good evening. Welcome to the Tunnel Podcast with me, your host, Robert. As we look back on that night in Koln last night, a more spirited display from Scotland, and we are still alive in Group A. Delighted to say, joining me in the tunnel tonight is podcast regular Connor Chalmers. Connor, how are you doing?
Aye, not bad. A bit happier with yesterday's performance. That's
you look like the weight's been lifted a wee bit.
A wee bit, aye. Obviously, we'll delve into it, but no, certainly happier with that. And as you say, keeps us alive. So that's the important thing. It's got weird sort of deja vu for the last Euros because it was the same. Lost the first game, got a second game. So let's hope the third game's a different outcome for us this time round.
I'm sure we'll get onto that later on in the podcast. And listen, look, two shiny guests we've got tonight. Matthew Muir, who's joined us from the Glasgow Standard. Matthew, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No, listen, delighted you're on. And also, we've got Aaron Jones. You may have seen him on YouTube. He's a vlogger for all things Scottish football and Aberdeen. Aaron, thanks for coming on, mate.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Excellent then, lads. Okay, then we'll start. We'll go back to the team lineup when it broke, and Connor, no surprise that the only change obviously being Grant Hanley coming in at the back and Billy Gilmore starting this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I was delighted to see Billy Gilmore getting the start. I felt he should have started against Germany as well, but wasn't to be. So it was good to see him come into the start, and I actually felt the midfield looked more comfortable with him in there alongside McGregor and McGinn and McTominay. I don't know if it was that extra bit of energy that he provided to it that it seemed to settle quicker, which was good. Obviously Hanley coming in, we knew it was basically tossing a coin. It was going to be him or McKenna. With Porteous being out, it'll be the same on Sunday. Although personally, I was a bit disappointed because I wanted McKenna starting that game.
Yeah, you did say that, didn't you, later on in the week? Matthew, I'll come to you actually because as Connor touches on there, the midfield seemed to be more energised. It was more like the Scotland we know and love from the campaign. How important is it that we carry that energy and aggression into Sunday's match? Because obviously it's win or bust.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important and vital that we take that sort of going forward. And I think what was important after the match, I think when sort of the players post-match comments, it was very much that was more like us, sort of message coming from the Scotland camp. It was just more like us. We've learned from the Germany game. We've used that disappointment and try and brought it into this game. And I think it's very much a step in the right direction, and perhaps maybe use also where we fell a wee bit in the Switzerland game into Hungary as well. So I think it's really important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Aaron, I saw your video you celebrating that McTominay goal. I don't know where you were. You might be able to paint a picture for me up in Aberdeen in a screening somewhere.
Yeah, I've actually lost my voice from it, so excuse me for my voice.
No, absolutely great. But so in terms of the performance, what we're talking about there, maybe on the balance of the game, did Switzerland maybe have the better of the chances? I know we had one on with Grant Hanley. They get the two VAR decisions, which I must say VAR seems to be working really well at the tournament so far. Do you think a draw was sort of a just result?
I would say so, because either team could have won the game. Obviously, Switzerland having those two offside goals, Scotland having a couple good chances, hitting the post as well. So I think a draw is a decent result going into the final game. Is
it any shock, Aaron, that Steve Clarke on 70 minutes sort of keeps the status quo and looks almost like he plays for a draw? Because if it's 1-1 on Sunday, I dare see Lawrence Shankland's coming on a lot quicker than not for the last couple of minutes.
I would say so, because obviously if you make changes, fresh legs, but it's also a risk, because if Switzerland score late in the game, dreams are over. So yeah, I kind of noticed we were playing a bit defensive towards the end of the game, but I think a draw is a decent result.
Connor, Aaron touches on there about us playing defensive. We spoke, in the last podcast that we done about Scotland, that Steve Clarke is set up defensively. Is keep a clean sheet and see what we can get from that. I did think when Mbolo had stuck it over. I did worry for a slight moment, as I touched on before. VAR seems to be getting it spot on. He can't be as defensive come Sunday, surely. We've got to try and channel how we started that game last night and see if we can sustain it for a longer period.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Nothing other than the 3 points and a win will do on Sunday. Anything else, and we're out of the competition. So he's got to go more attacking on Sunday. I think, I can understand yesterday to a degree that clearly, because we were actually looking really good for about half an hour in the game, fairly comfortable at the back. We had got our noses in front, and you were thinking, yeah, we're doing all right, and the passing looked a bit more composed. The problem is that when you're trying to do that constantly, inevitably a mistake happens, and when it happens in that area, you get punished, and that's what happened. I mean, listen, the finish for Shaqiri is world class, but he's obviously assisted by a wayward pass for Tony Ralston, unfortunately, and that's the risk you take if you set up to be playing at the back too much in a game. So there's that to look at, but no, you'll need to be more on the attacking foot come Sunday. I was actually surprised that I can't understand why he waited to the 90th minute to bring on Lauren Shankland. Again, I don't get the thinking behind that. Why not even do what he did against Germany? Bring him on with 10 minutes to go. Even if you do that, at least give him some time to potentially do something in the game, because I get at that stage it's a case of you don't want to lose it. You want to make sure you at least get the point, but that doesn't mean you can't still go and try and win the game as well. And so that was a strange one, but he said coming into this 4 points was the target, and he's still on course to get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Matthew, you touched on earlier saying we look more like ourselves. Scott McTominay picked up his 51st cap. He pops up with a goal. He's been synonymous scoring goals throughout the qualifying campaign as well. Is there a slight risk in the fact that he's not played much football prior to the tournament? He's just played 2 full 90 minutes, and we're going to have to thrust him in again come the weekend?
I think maybe. I'm not quite sure on that. I think he did do really well to obviously score the goal the other night. I think perhaps when you look at how much he's been playing, I think when you play as much as you do, and I think maybe you feel that confidence in yourself that you can push on. So I think maybe you could, but I think touching on what Connor said earlier, maybe bringing in Shankland as well a lot earlier in the game could help. And maybe, I don't know, maybe sub him from McTominay or whatever, but I do feel as if, I mean, I don't really quite understand where Steve Clark's coming from and keeping Shankland up until the 90th minute, and we'll give him that chance. I mean, he's shown, on plenty of occasions, that he's got really good goal scoring ability, so I think it's really important to bring him back in.
Absolutely, and Matthew makes a great point there in the fact that you don't really have to change your shape or your formation to play Lawrence Shankland. Taking off Shea Adams and putting on Lawrence Shankland is just an eye for an eye.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Shea Adams did have let's just say, better performance than he did.
Couldn't have been any worse, could it, than Friday night? Yeah,
but I think Shankland, obviously, you've seen his stats for Hearts. He was brilliant this season. And I thought if he came on, he could have possibly done something with the support of Robertson as well, putting the ball in. I thought we could have possibly won it with him up front.
Absolutely. Connor, just to come back to McTominay, because I've got some of his numbers from last night that are quite incredible. 70% pass accuracy, 43 touches, 8 in the Swiss box, 60% accurate crosses made, 50% of ground duels won, 50% of aerial duels won, 3 clearances, 3 recoveries, 1 interception. He was everywhere, wasn't
he? He certainly was. He got about yesterday, and that's, I like that. I like to see that. That's what we were crying out to see against Germany, properly, roll the sleeves up and get stuck into it kind of performance. And we lacked that completely against Germany. And, his performance, I think, just demonstrates that's the aggressive side that you've got to show. And listen, I thought a great performance all round for him. I mean, look, I think ultimately there's peaks and troughs in games, and certainly there's one or two moments here or there that you maybe sort of wipe the brow that you get away with. But overall, it was just that bit of aggression that we all needed, I think.
In stark contrast, Matthew, and from McTominay, John McGinn's not quite looking like himself. Now, that could be a number of factors. I know he's obviously the goalkeeper that passed away, the Millwall goalkeeper. He was quite close to Aston Villa. There was also a passing out of the old Hibernian kitman. So he's had a couple of things going on whilst he's been over there during the camp. But he just doesn't seem to be as imposing as he has been for us over the last year or two.
Definitely was one thing that I mentioned. Maybe could have even had subbed McGinn earlier into I felt even throughout the whole team, not just McGinn, but I think they all felt quite tired towards the end, and I think that's testament to, of course, the effort that all the players are putting in. But I think it's good that you mentioned there about McGinn. I do feel it's maybe not up to the potential that it could be performance for us. I mean, I've seen McGinn on a number of occasions throughout the years. I remember when he first came onto the scene at St Mirren, so I do. So I definitely real potential there as I'm playing. Obviously, that's proven to be the case over the years. But I do feel as if we could definitely see more from him.
Aaron, is that, I wanted to sort of maybe save this for a little bit later, but he's on the plate now, so we'll talk about it now. Is that maybe a question mark for Steve Clarke going into the weekend? Does he carry on with? I hear call him Steve McGinn there. I know. Okay, Connor laughing. Is that maybe a question mark for Steve Clarke? That does he keep McGinn in the side, or do you think he's just going to start? He's just going to play the same side as long as they're all saying that they're fit and ready to go. There won't be many changes.
I think he will start McGinn. Yes, he didn't have the greatest of performances the other night, but he's been pivotal for Scotland over many games, and I think you never know, he could pull up with a goal or assist. So I think he will start McGinn, but I think McGinn's performance last night was one to forget for him.
Absolutely, yeah, I would have to agree with you there. Connor, you touched on Tony Ralston, who we'll come to in a minute, but I wanted to put you on the spot about Angus Gunn, because in the lead up to this fixture, you were very vocal about maybe getting him out the firing line, getting Zander Clark in from the start. I have to say, did Gunn redeem himself last night? Couple of good saves, not really at fault for the goal. This time around, he could probably have two goalies in there, the old cliche, and not save that one. So is that a better footing for him going into the weekend? He'll have a bit more confidence.
Yeah, 100% it is. And look, I said, in the lead up to it that it was a gamble playing him, because if it goes wrong and he makes another mistake, it's going to be a bad situation for him, because that, unfortunately, when that happens to major tournaments, it can really put a dent in your international career. And I was concerned about that happening. However, it can always go the other way, as I had said as well. And it did. I thought he was superb last night. Make no points about it. He's produced a couple of top-notch saves that if he doesn't make, we're banging trouble. You think he'd have won in the first half when the boy who was at Bow, I think it was, cuts in, gets the shot off at fairly close range to him as well, and he just gets that big hand to tip it around the post. You've got another one where, again, they break through, and he comes out quick to close down the angle and just throws himself at it and makes himself bigger and gets the touch to save it. And it was a lot better for him, and that will do wonders for his confidence. Because one thing the goalkeepers are that were confidence players realistically. If it takes a dent, you have a bad game or two, it can be problematic trying to get out of that kind of rut. So he's done well. He's given the reaction that I was hoping that we would get from him, to be honest with you. And fair play to Steve Clarke for standing by him there.
He'll be absolutely delighted you're off his back as well, which is a massive thing. Matthew, the goal we concede, it's our own doing. As Connor mentioned earlier, Tony Ralston plays a hospital ball, for want of a better phrase, and Shaqiri, the one player on the pitch you don't want to fall to, fires into the top bin. Tony Ralston had a bit of a tough night. I know his captain came out and backed him at full time. He said he came on from the mistake and had a better second half. I felt that might have been a bit of padding from the captain to try and lift his fellow teammate there. How did you see the evening for Tony Ralston, as well as because he'd had a tough night on Friday as well?
Yeah, no, it definitely was a tough night for him. I felt he was maybe perhaps a wee bit nervous. He seemed on the ball, and obviously, I mean, every player makes mistakes and all that, but I think what's important is that you come back from that mistake. So I think, and obviously, as Connor mentioned, Steve Clark sticking by Angus Gunn, perhaps if he did the same to Ralston, it would be, I think, in any time of adversity or criticism or whatever, I think it's good if a manager stands by his players. So I think we might see that happen with Ralston, but he does seem a wee bit nervous. But I would say, perhaps going into the second half, he does seem that he improved that slightly. You know what I mean? And I think that confidence boost would be important for him, definitely.
Darren, a slight concern or a massive concern is obviously Kieran Tierney stretchered off. Rumours to believe it's a hamstring injury. Tournament could be over. Steve Clark said he's definitely out at the weekend, and if we can get through that, I don't see how you can come back from a hamstring in such a short turnaround. A player that's had numerous injuries throughout his career, and a big summer for him as well, because he was potentially looking to move away from Arsenal. But if we can keep it specific to the Euros, how does that affect Steve Clark's mindset at the weekend? Does he change it to a back four, or is it just simply McKenna comes in from the start?
We were watching it in the fan zone, and it didn't look a great injury whatsoever. But I think McKenna came on. He did something. He did get a yellow card, which again isn't the best. But Kieran Tierney's a brilliant player. He's probably one of the most standout players in the Scotland team. And I think he'll prove a worry for Steve Clark going into the final group game. But I do think he might choose McKenna or maybe go with McCrory because he's another option. But I think McKenna will be the right replacement.
You've obviously seen a lot of Scott McKenna, especially in his early years at Aberdeen. Yeah. What can he bring that's slightly different to Kieran Tierney, do you think?
First of all, I think he can bring physicality because he's a big guy, and I think he can kind of do what Tierney does, just get the ball, go down the line. He could also make a good long pass, or I still think McKenna could do a good job for the Scotland team.
Yeah, here's hoping, fingers crossed. I think he will start on Friday. Connor, just sticking with Kieran Tierney, do you think that takes away in terms of that Robbo Tierney link up down the left hand side, or are we not seeing enough of that in the tournament anyway to see that as a negative?
Listen, it takes it away, certainly. I mean, you can't deny that they've had that great partnership for a long time for Scotland. But throughout this tournament, it's maybe not been as prominent as you say, so it might not be as huge a problem. I mean, I think what needs to happen, whoever comes in, whether it is McCrory, as Aaron says, or McKenna, Andy Robertson's going to have to make sure he's got that same level of trust in them that he's got in Tierney, that he can still go and do the business going forward when he needs to, knowing he's got that cover in behind him, because that's why it's always worked between the two of them, their ability to interchange, where one can go forward in the one cup, the other one is covering that spot. So that's what we need to make sure we do better. The concern obviously is, you look at McKenna, he's naturally a centre-back. He's not by trade a left-back, so I don't know how he'll fit in there, but I think it probably will be Scott McKenna that he'll whack in there, I would imagine. I think just purely on the experience point more than anything else, because McCrory's not had the levels of experience that McKenna's had, having played at a tournament before where McCrory didn't. So for me, that's who I'd be slotting in there without shadow of doubt. But listen, Tierney's a huge miss. He's one of the top quality players that we've got. So it's an issue, but I hope it's one we can manage.
Matthew, I'll come on to Steve Clarke's comments actually after the game. He sort of said, we came into this game knowing we'd have to get something to keep us alive in the group, regardless of what had happened on Friday night. That's what we've done. We're still alive in the group going into Friday. As Connor alluded to at the start of the pod, he'd earmarked 4 points. Has he put even more pressure on his players now? Because that's what he set out. It's now down to them to go and get that in a sort of a winner takes all sort of scenario come Sunday.
Yeah, I think if we had won today, I would have taken that pressure off for Sunday definitely, and perhaps more of a safer route into the next stage. But obviously, I don't believe that any team has finished third on 4 points that have not went through. So I mean, obviously, a win and third place and hopefully more or less in the knockouts. But I think I noticed a wee stat earlier, and it was that for every time, I think since the 1970s, I think that Scotland have been in a Euro World Cup competition, going into the last game, we haven't won.
Don't hit us with that, Matthew. What a stat.
We haven't got the result that we needed, and it's... I mean, obviously, the pressure is on, of course, but I think it's important that we thrive in that pressure. So hopefully it comes to be a good result. But there is that statistic there kind of be hanging over their shoulders, unfortunately.
Listen, if they're going to be the first Scotland side to make it out of a group stage, then they're going to have to be the first Scotland side to win the last group game as well.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's got to be in front of their minds really, and to sort of have that sort of feeling in the camp that they can be history makers essentially.
Well, I mean, they'd be the first side in 50 years to do it, because the last Scotland side to win a final group game was the infamous Archie Gemmill goal against the Dutch, but it wasn't enough to go over the line because they needed to win that game by 2 goals, and they only won it by 1. So I think there's every chance they can do it. I think a positive mindset's needed. I think they showed that yesterday on the part of the players. I think sometimes, as fans, we can be guilty of that as well. You need to have a bit of that. I mean, I don't know if you'd heard yesterday, but watching the game, as soon as Switzerland equalised, immediately the commentator, Liam McLeod, is going, well, 3 points might, probably will be enough anyway. And you're going, well, don't lose in the game. Like, it's an equaliser and he's already got us losing the game. So we maybe need to be a bit less apathetic when it comes to stuff like that.
Alan, we'll switch our attention now to Sunday. The Hungarians, I don't know how much you've seen of them so far. I saw quite a bit of the game against Switzerland, where I thought they played poorly in the first half, but maybe came to life in the second half. Yesterday I was travelling back from work, so I didn't get to see it as much as I liked, but apparently they made a decent fist of it, albeit losing the game 2-0.
Now, a lot of Scotland fans are positive going into the game. We just need to think about the Hungary side. It is strong. They've obviously got Szoboszlai, a very, very pivotal player for them. And against Switzerland, first half they were not great. Second half they came to light. And against Germany as well, they played quite well. Gave them a bit of a scare towards the end of the game. And Scotland just need to just look ahead to the team, and they need to possibly figure out the danger, and they need to realise how tough of a Hungary team it is.
Absolutely. Connor, just in terms of tired minds, tired bodies, a lot of guys looked like they were, battling through the 90 minutes last night. You look at Tony Ralston, probably should have come off. I think he had camp at one point. You've obviously got Tierney, who's going to be ruled out. I've mentioned earlier, McTominay playing 90 minutes in both matches. You've got McGinn, who doesn't look himself. Steve Clarke doesn't seem to me to the guy that's going to make 4 or 5 changes come the weekend.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't make that many changes now. I mean, 1 or 2, possibly. I mean, certainly 1 at least, because he's enforced to do that. I would like Warren Shanklin to start the game. I really would. I think, Aaron touched on it earlier. Che Adams, he certainly had a better game yesterday than he did against Germany. Same can be said for them all, to be fair. But he's not, for me, done enough over the course of the 2 games to justify starting again. I think, why not give Shanklin that opportunity? He's more than earned that, and it seems a bit bizarre to bring him into the squad to only give him 5 minutes here or there. If we are to go out on Sunday, will Warren Shanklin be happy with having played so far a total of about 14 minutes in this tournament? I don't think so. So I think he needs to be given that opportunity. And look, yeah, it'll be that they may be tired minds, but they shouldn't need any motivation to get up for this. They've got to just go out there, be as aggressive you can, be on that front foot, start the game in a similar vein to the way we did yesterday, because we started really positively, and have a go at it. That's what they've got to do. I mean, if you'll pardon the pun, we need to be more hungry than them.
You've been sitting on that all day, haven't you? You've got that wrote on the notepad.
So I think, it's just what we need, and it should be there because these players have given themselves an opportunity that, they're on the precipice of making more of their own history by potentially qualifying out of a group for the first time in history. So that's a real carrot for them there. And they'll know from the experience the last time out when they went into that third game in the same position, having got a well-earned point down at Wembley, that how big an opportunity they missed and how disappointed they must have been with that performance that day. So, go and right that wrong. It's not often that football gives you opportunities to do that, but they've been given one here.
Absolutely. I listened to Jack Henry today, and he was sort of saying, look, he made his debut against the Hungarians back in 2018, and we won that game 1-0. Matt Phillips, I don't know if you guys can remember him. He had a couple of caps. West Brom player, our colleague Tom will know all about him. Just sort of saying, look, I'd bite your hand off for that now. Matthew, it's a different proposition now, this Hungarian side. They qualified unbeaten from their group, albeit they haven't had the greatest of starts in the tournament, but they'll know that that it's win or bust for them as well at the weekend.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely a winner takes all situation for both teams now. I think that motivation is always important, but I do think we need to watch out for the threat they've obviously got, to go unbeaten, leading up to this group. They've obviously got something sort of in that squad that they can post press. I mean, I will confess I haven't seen much of the Hungarians in the World Cup first far, but I think when you look at that result, that it was only 2 goals that they conceded against Germany, who I think could well be one of the favourites to go on through the tournament. I don't think that's something to be sniffed at, for sure.
Absolutely not. Okay, lads, I'm going to get some quick predictions from you. Then I just want to pick these 2 brains just about the Euros in general. Aaron, what's your prediction for Sunday?
2-1 Scotland.
Yeah, Connor?
1-0 Scotland.
Oh, and Matthew?
I'm going to say 1-0 Scotland as well. Yeah.
That's a full house. Okay, then let's just before we wrap up, just in the tournament in general. We'll start with you, Aaron. Any sort of standout moments for you so far? Goals, players, teams?
I would go for the player, and I would say Arda Güler from Turkey.
Okay, yeah,
that goal was something else. I was watching it live, and it was just amazing. And you could see all the fans just going mental. You could see even the camera shaking. And that's probably one of my standout moments for me so far.
That game was absolutely electric. It was played like the Champions League final. I enjoyed every kick of the ball. Connor, for you, any same questions, standout moments so far?
Listen, the Arda Güler one's a good shout. I mean, that was an unbelievable goal. I think probably 2 for me. I think certainly Slovakia beating Belgium was a real standout moment for me, because that's a hell of a result, and it just shows that when you come into these tournaments, you cannot underestimate the teams you're playing, because they have earned the right to be in this tournament and in the competition, so they're not going to be rolled over. And I think, that probably fires a warning shot across the bows of all the top teams in this, that, if you're off it by even a little bit, these teams are capable of hurting you. And I mean, and overall, they just had a real solid performance. I think probably the other thing, actually, which is not like a specific game, I think what's impressed me has been the quality of the goals in general across the tournament. I think there's been something like 14 scored from outside the box already, which is magnificent to sit and watch that. Not so much when it happens against you, as I found out yesterday, but the quality on show's been unbelievable, and I'm so glad that as of yet we've not had any drab 0-0 draws. There's been goals galore so far, and it's up there so far as one of my most enjoyable Euros, that's for sure.
A real festival of football, that's for sure. Matthew, final word to you. Standout moment of the tournament so far?
Yeah, I would go back to what Connor mentioned about the Belgian result. I did feel that was perhaps a wee bit of an upset there. I think it shows, that any team, any country in this case, can on the day can provide the goods. But I think, I'm going to say that as for me a standout result. I'm keen for the Italy and Spain game tonight. That's one that I've kind of been eyeing for the past few finals. But now that I've said that it's probably going to be a drab 0-0 draw, and you can blame me for that. You can blame me for that. But yeah, that's one game that I've got my wee eye on for tonight. So yeah, maybe it's a case of waiting to see what's to come from me.
I don't think that's going to be a 0-0. I think there'll be goals in that one.
It's certainly it's the first real clash of the Titans that we've came across. I mean, that group always looked a tasty affair anyway. When for the minute that draw was made, that's the game you looked at and went, yeah, that's probably the tie of the round right there. So I mean, not that I'll see much yet, obviously, but certainly it'll be a cracking game.
Absolutely. Listen, that is the end of episode 5. Thanks for joining us. If you watch this on catch up, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know how we're getting on. Aaron, thank you very much for coming on. Hopefully we'll speak to you again soon. Matthew, my absolute pleasure. As again, hopefully we'll speak to you again soon. Connor, you'll definitely be back on again soon. And we'll see you, the viewers, tomorrow night, episode 6 on the show. Myself, Tom Goff, will be joined by Zara May Rose to talk through that result earlier on. Should be interesting. See you all soon.